Alex,
Holy
I did.
hell,
I didn't know you were a French press coffee man.
I am. It's the only way well, I mean, it's not the only way I drink coffee, but it's the only way I make coffee at home because it's the only way my girlfriend will let me make coffee at home.
That's why that you've got. When you are looking for a relationship, you got to find people that make you better. And
Yeah.
I would normally settle for a lot of shittier things in my life when it comes to food,
hmm
but my wife makes me eat better, and I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
And in this case, she makes me drink better coffee, and it's good coffee, so I can't complain about it one bit.
That's true. How was your week?
It was pretty good. Surprisingly action-packed for being a week in early December in the video game industry. But, that's what happens when you start trying to plan Game of the Year things and then start having to immediately execute on those Game of the Year things.
Yeah, yeah. I had this revelation yesterday when I was talking to Vinny about some Game of the Year stuff, and he's like, "Oh, this is what we're doing for top tens and blah blah blah." We're just kind of talking about logistics, and then like it dawned upon me that all of this is happening very, 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 very soon,
Yeah.
and I spent an entire evening 2 nights ago playing and finishing Ryse, which is not to say I didn't. I actually liked Ryse. I don't think
Okay.
you should pay $60 for it. It's a
Would you say it's like
gorgeous.
maybe a 3-star game?
Yeah, I think Brad's review is right on the money. I
Sure.
think it has a decent, Batman imitation combat system with some unbelievably gorgeous visuals. Like
Yeah.
some of the moments with faces are just those faces are very clean. Those are some very clean faces.
Super clean.
And but I know it's not going to be in my top 10. I know it's not going to
No.
be in anything for Game of the Year consideration except for like maybe graphics if we even have that category. I need to look at all that stuff. But like it's not something that I should be spending 5 hours of my at this point precious time on. And I like momentarily actually panicked because I have a series of games that I do want to play and put time into that I haven't touched yet, and that was just like a night that I took a dump on.
Yeah, you know what though? You know what I did when I got home? When I got home on Wednesday night, first thing I did, I popped in WWE 2K14 and downloaded the latest DLC. So you know what? I'm right there with you in wasting my motherfucking time when it comes to games I should be playing.
Uh, do you have what's sort of on your bucket list? Like, do you have any others that you need to clean off? Like,
I
I'm
haven't.
increasingly thinking that I'm not going to get to Assassin's Creed, which is bumming me out.
That is a bummer because that game is really good, and I feel like I'm going to have to argue for that one to be in semi-prominent position on the overall top 10 list. I don't think it should win or anything, but I think it should be on there. But I haven't touched Dead Rising 3 yet. I really want to. It's sitting there staring me in the face. I will probably play through some of that at least this weekend. I need to play a lot more Zelda. I didn't really get to play much on the plane ride home just because I had other things I was like doing, so I'm pretty far behind in that, and I would like to at least get a solid like 8 or 9 hours into that before I, have any significant opinions of it before we discuss it. Other than that, there's not too much. I mean, I still haven't played Earwalk, so I kind of need to do that, and
That one's short. That's 3 hours.
I know. I just need to set aside 3 hours and actually do it. It's already downloaded onto my computer. I can play it. I just haven't done it. Other than that, I think I've pretty much caught up with everything from this year that I wanted to play.
I think so. The only one that is like I'm almost done with Zelda.
Yeah.
I only have a couple more stages to collect, so I can kind of see that one. I can see the end goal there.
Yeah.
The other one is State of Decay, which Brad has been on my ass about because
I have not touched that one all year.
it's on Steam now, which is where I wanted to check it out. He's pretty sure I'd really like it, so I need to at least give that a shot.
Sure.
Usually if someone is dropping hints about a game that, hey, you should check this out, it's maybe something they're considering and maybe want some backup when it comes to talking about them.
Sure.
The game I probably should have been pushing on people that I just never got around to was the Swapper. It's going to bum me out that no one
I
else
don't even
played the
remember
Swapper.
us
Yeah,
even talking about that game at any point.
fucking the Swapper is this awesome puzzle game that has this really oppressive alien-like atmosphere. It came out
Mhm.
back in like May, I think. That and Gunpoint would probably be the two games I would push on people.
I did play
Uh,
Gunpoint. I didn't love Gunpoint. I liked it though.
monster.
No, it's good. It's a good game, but it didn't super hook me personally.
Okay. Fine. Fine. I'll let
Sorry,
it pass.
just
I'll
saying.
let it pass.
Seems cool,
Um,
but
so what? Did you play anything else this week?
I mean, no, I mostly just sat in on quick looks this week and did a lot of podcasting. The Gran Turismo 6 and Barbie Dreamhouse Party quick looks both feature me.
Somehow that was the fault of Max Temkin, I'm told.
Well, I don't know how that snowball got rolling originally. I think it started with Rock Paper Shotgun. They put up a thing about that game, which maybe slightly overstated the sarcastic value of that game for what it actually is.
Okay.
Then Max Temkin, I guess, saw that or saw the game at some point, and then started badgering Jeff to play it, do a quick look for it, and the end result is 3 grown men playing mini games in a Barbie game while making a lot of deep sighs and contemplating various forms of suicide. So yeah, it's great. By all means, watch it. It's super fun.
I somehow discovered this week that I live a block away from that man. Unplanned.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. So what are you gonna do about that?
Probably record some videos. Probably just probably make some content. I don't know. I think after this, I'm actually going to walk over to the Cards Against Humanity office, which is something I will not be working out of daily necessarily, but he's got an office and a desk for me, and there are a lot of cool folks working out there.
He's been pushing that space as like a sort of like a creative space that people can kind of come to collectively, right?
Yeah, he basically, I think Polygon wrote like a feature on their office, but the long and the short of it is that he wanted an office for himself because he didn't want to work at home anymore. Found a space that was too big and was really cheap, and then just invited a bunch of his friends to come hang out there. So him and I want to do a bunch of cool stuff. We have a lot of plans for what we want to do in Chicago, and so it'll be cool to start getting over there and hanging out and doing some stuff with them. I think some of the Octodad guys work out of there and some other folks. So should be cool. Should be cool.
Look at you making a little gaming collective out there in Chicago. Why not?
Well, I hate working from home, so I need to get out there. I need to get out there.
Hey, you know what? Me too. Help me! Help! Oh God!
It's not fun. It's tough.
No, it can get a little grating on you. So you've got your big TV now.
I did get my big TV. I've mostly played Zelda in front of it and watched.
Which I think is great.
Football and basketball. Watched the Bulls beat the Heat last night, which was nice. But yeah, no, it's a beautiful TV. I got this, Vizio, which is not necessarily, the model everyone thinks of when it comes to quality. But if you actually track their reviews of the models they've been making in the last couple of years, they have done like a really stellar job of catching up on quality. And for the price, they can't be beat. So it's like, if you want, there are better options out there for 60-inch 1080p TVs that have low input lag, but none of them are going to cost $650.
No.
So that's kind of what it came down to for me, was I needed to try and find a TV for the price and quality that made sense, and that TV made the most sense. And I've been super happy with it. I also bought a sound bar.
Yeah, so how is that working out for you?
It's really nice. Sound bars are sort of audiophiles go nuts when you mention them because, it's just one long speaker that tries to approximate surround sound. It's mostly made for small spaces. You probably shouldn't be putting this in a big living room. Right. But if you have a big living room, you probably own a house, and you can probably, or maybe can afford to have like a fancier setup. You can actually drill things in walls and get speakers in the right place and things like that. But in an apartment, that's not necessarily nearly as true. And even though we have more space in our new apartment, in the spot where we have the TV, it's kind of crammed because of a hole that's in the middle of the room. So I decided I needed to get new speakers anyway. Mine were like 7 years old, and they were not good to begin with. Right. People love these sound bars for small spaces, so I got one, and I really like it. It's loud, it's bassy, it's.
So it's just a bar. It's not a bar and a subwoofer, right?
It is a bar and a subwoofer.
Oh, it is a bar and subwoofer. Okay.
Yeah, and then the subwoofer is wireless. I suspect it might be interfering with my Wi-Fi, but I need to mess around with the situation a little bit more. But they're really nice, and I got this highly recommended Sony one for just under $200. It's like I think $188 on Amazon. And yeah, so now I've got this pretty nice setup. I'm pretty excited about it. Now I just need to not play handheld games in front of it, so I feel like I'm getting my money's worth.
Yeah, it would be good since you have these next generation consoles that you spent money on right before you went to, California and then came back and moved into a new apartment and then set up a new TV and, maybe just play some games on those systems.
I did, and I played Ryse on it. You know what? Ryse ain't bad.
Ryse.
I feel like Ryse got a bad rap. I'm not saying Ryse is a great game, but it is going to be one of those games that if you pick up an Xbox in the spring and it's $30, like you're gonna be fine. Like you're gonna be happy. Yeah. It is like a gorgeous showcase for the new hardware. Like 720p nonsense aside, like it just looks fucking amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it seems dumb, but it. I mean, for God's sakes, it's not knack or something. Jesus.
No, it is definitely dumb, and I have to say I was a little bit like I thought that I knew it wasn't going to be grounded in reality per se, even if there is some historical context for it. But I was a little bummed out that even Ryse was unable to resist the temptation to get a little fantastic. I thought that maybe it might be a game that it did exaggeration of what it was like to be in Rome, but that maybe it might be a little more grounded, given that that's not a setting we see all that often. The game could not resist itself to get a little weird. As the game went on, and that was kind of a bummer. But I think they set a good foundation for making something really interesting the next time around. They mostly just need to like invent a story and characters and a little more depth to the combat system, and I think they really could have something. They probably don't even need to call it Ryse next time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that sounds fine. I feel like I will try Ryse, like you said, at some point when it is cheaper and it is, we are past the point where there are other better games that need to be played. And yeah, I mean, I would agree that it does seem like some people maybe dumped on it a little bit more than, perhaps was necessary, considering it is just kind of a shallow but functional, third-person action game. At the same time, I don't know, like the way they Frankenstein that game into so many different things over the years. Like it was originally a Kinect game, and then it just kind of became something else. I guess probably the most impressive thing about that game to me is that it seems like it works. It's not impressive necessarily mechanically, but they made a game that functions relatively well for a launch game, considering how fucked and broken a lot of other launch games are right now.
Yeah. I mean that's Battlefield 4.
Yeah,
although that has nothing to do with next gen. I guess there was a lot of news this week, so we can
dive into that if you want.
We can dive into that. I guess Battlefield's one of the big ones this week. That game has been utterly broken since day one, basically on all platforms.
In unique ways on each platform.
Yep. So they've had to release specific patches to try and address specific issues. And I remember when I was on the big live stream for the Xbox One, it was kind of the first time that EA addressed the issues that were plaguing the game, and their statement just came across as they really did not care, especially relative to the letter that was written for the NBA game, which came across, it doesn't excuse shipping a shitty game that you're charging people money for, but at least it was like, yes, we really did screw up. We're admitting that we really screwed up. We're going to try and fix this. And the Battlefield one was like, it's having some problems, but yo, how about a double XP weekend and a gun attachment?
Knife skins!
Yeah, and it just really came across as, well, hey guys, this game is making money and Call of Duty sucked this year, so who cares? But now it's continued to be broken, and I think it's one of those things that now people are just sort of dogpiling on because it's become so egregious and so crazy that they finally issued another statement that was like, we're not going to work on any more projects. We're taking people off DLC and other games to work on this. Although, what are those people realistically doing? Like, there aren't hundreds of people working on bug fixes. Like, that's not how game development works. So that's mostly just a disingenuous statement to make people feel better or make themselves seem like they're more humble than they actually are in this situation. And yeah, it's a really fucked situation, and they need to get that game into shape because it may be the only shooter in town worth caring about right now, but that doesn't excuse shipping something this bad.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, from what I've heard, I mean, they've basically said we're not putting out any more stuff, any new stuff. We're like they've said that they've switched off of, I guess, some other stuff just to try and get Battlefield, running properly on all platforms. And I have heard from other sources that meetings and other things that were scheduled at DICE have been canceled or thrown out just so that because nobody is to bother them right now while they work on that shit. But at the same time, while it's sort of great that, okay, fine, they're dedicating all their resources to trying and fix this game, man, I mean, for all the problems other various launch games have, none are that fucked up. Like, none are so broken that, pervasive problems where, hitting the same building in a multiplayer map will kick people out of the game almost every single time, servers just being regularly broken across the board. That is, if you're at this point, then you have fucked up colossally. And yeah, that original apology they put out was nothing. It was kind of useless. Especially, I mean, even in the context of other EA apologies this year, the fact that they've had to do multiple of those is crazy on its own. That it was a bad apology compared to other apologies they have made is even crazier.
EA's had a self-imposed bad year. It has been a year of unforced errors, as they put it, all on their own. And actually would make probably a pretty good feature to just compile all of those apology letters into one thing.
Top 10 apologies of EA.
God, that's not a terrible. I don't think we have 10, but we probably are pretty close to 5. I mean,
yeah.
SimCity.
You won't believe these 5 apologies that EA had to make this year.
SimCity, NBA, Battlefield. That's 3. I feel like we got to be able to find 2 others.
There's probably one other one in there somewhere. Maybe someone apologized for Dead Space 3 at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, there's probably something to be said about DICE having to figure out 5 platforms. There is a next gen part of the equation to that, but that doesn't excuse shipping a game and charging money for it. Once the game is out the door, you're asking $60 from people. Whatever problems you had going into it sort of don't matter, and that's sort of the double-edged sword about knowing more about game development and becoming, overly sympathetic to the game development process, because obviously it's hard. Obviously people put in a lot of work. That's not to take anything away from that, but you can't forget that they're also asking you to pay $60, and $60 to a great many people is a lot of money. And I think that kind of gets taken for granted. I think that that's a good transition into people being really upset over the Forza 5 microtransactions and the Gran Turismo 6 microtransactions that are in both of these racing games. That I think especially for those two, the reason people are upset, the reason I can definitely sympathize with people being upset is because you have no real sense of how you're supposed to value the game's normal progression. Whether that is normal or whether that's being adjusted so that you will get into the stuff where you have to pay. There's no way for you to know and judge how that actually is working.
Right. Yeah, the microtransaction stuff is weird because I've seen people freaking out about the stuff in GT6, and honestly, from what little I've seen and from what I've gathered from talking to people who actually had to review that game and play through it, it's nowhere near as pervasive as Forza is. With Forza, if you don't do any of the microtransactions, if you don't buy any of that stuff, if you don't do any of that stuff, you can unlock probably all the cars and do all that stuff. It will just take you an excruciatingly long time. The GT6 stuff, from what I've seen, is not that bad. It's there. They claim that you can just never touch that stuff and just play the game as you would. And considering that Gran Turismo has always been a series about kind of, a very, shall we say, methodical progression, it wouldn't surprise me if that hasn't really changed all that much, compared to where it was. But that, in talking with Jeff a bunch about Forza 5 and about how that game has sort of, kind of flown off the rails from where, the highs that series has had in the last couple of games, that whole game feels like a mandate from above. Everything about the structure of that game, everything about the microtransactions, everything about it feels like something that Turn 10 was sort of cajoled into doing out of some executive level panic about monetizing everything. It doesn't, because Forza games to me have always been kind of, to me, the more elegant version UI and design-wise of what GT does. GT is a great driving simulator, but its menus and its design is usually kind of a mess. I've always loved the way the Forzas sort of tackle that stuff. In this game, it is a fucking disaster. The UI is a disaster. The microtransaction stuff is a mess. It is totally obfuscated the great driving mechanics and the visuals underneath, because everything about it feels like it's just trying to shoehorn itself into something that does not fit. So it's a real. I mean, I bought Forza, all smiles. First thing I popped into my Xbox One, when I got it. I think I'm done with that game. Like, I've spent maybe 8 hours with it, and I don't think I want to play it anymore. And I feel real fucking sad about saying that, because I love that series and I love what those guys do. But man, I am just having no fun with that game whatsoever.
It just, all that stuff feels gross, and what you have to do is then implicitly trust the game developer that they have balanced it in a way that doesn't favor you wanting to engage with paying additional money on top of the $60 you've already paid.
Yeah.
And we also, it's easy to forget that a lot of this is premised on something we already gave away to game developers and game publishers more specifically, which are cheat codes.
Yeah.
This used to be something that was given away for free, that was baked into the game, that if people wanted to break the game, they were allowed to put in a code and do whatever they want with the game. Game publishers took that away and monetized it. And then not only have they done that, now it's starting to approach and encroach on the game design to the point where it is breaking the implicit trust of the consumer that when they pay $60, you get the game. And now that is no longer true when you start stacking on pre-orders, DLC, microtransactions. It makes it so that you wonder why you're paying the $60 in the first place, because it seems like they're just taking advantage of the fact that we're used to paying $60 when they probably should be charging a lot less than that, and then allowing you to pay the microtransactions on top of it, which I think a lot of us would feel a lot better about. But right now, it kind of just feels like we're being taken advantage of, because of course we're going to buy these games we're really excited about, and of course it's launch, so you want to buy stuff for your system.
Yeah, and the thing with me is I've defended the concept of microtransactions before. I don't think inherently as a concept that stuff is.
Is that a ghost?
No, that was my girlfriend shutting my door, I guess.
Okay.
I don't think the inherent idea behind it is evil. It's just how you implement it and how it integrates into the game that you're making. And someone brought up the point that Forza 4 did have its own version of microtransactions. They certainly sold a lot of cars and other things, as DLC in those games, but that was fine because it didn't feel like it was hindering your progress in the game. In Forza 5, it's because of the reduced payout, and I'm quoting Death Sandwich from the chat here, and he's absolutely right. It's the reduced payouts for the game that really hammer it home, because it's so in your face and it makes it so much harder to progress without getting like that credits multiplier and that stuff, like to get the proper payouts for that stuff, that just makes the whole game feel like a slog, honestly, and it's really depressing. That's and someone who thinks that microtransactions can work when they are non-invasive and when they when they're just there as an option, seeing this stuff kind of get ballooned out like this into something so obnoxious it's just really distressing.
Yeah, and it's just the sheer presence of them just makes it harder to judge games, because grind is a part of a lot of games.
Yeah.
So we accept that is how we unlock things, and if it's done in the right way, it's completely fine, and it makes it meaningful to progress. Like if everything was unlocked at once, for most people that like to enjoy games, engage with mechanics, increase their skills, that's part of the reason we play these games.
Yeah.
But the moment that microtransactions are introduced and you can pay for them, it starts to make it so you trust what they say less and less, and that's going to make that relationship between the consumer and the player even more strained, especially if they continue to charge $60 for these experiences. I think there is an implied level of course you're going to do this when these games are cheaper and or preferably free, because of course that's how they're going to make money. But in this case, it's like, well, you've gotten the $60. Now you just want more from people who have more disposable income or are willing to spend money to advance at a faster pace. But, you know, maybe that's not me, and I feel like I'm being taken advantage of so you can get more money out of someone else.
And yeah, maybe don't kneecap the existing game progression for the sake of getting those people to purchase that stuff. That's where it becomes gross, and that's where it becomes sort of, you know, unacceptable.
Yeah. This shit's complicated.
I'm all angry now, man.
I know.
I got the angry jitters. What
Well,
else we got?
I'm excited that Super Time Force is coming to Xbox One.
Yeah, I'm just happy that game's coming out at all, because, I mean, it hasn't come out yet, and I want to play it. Every time I've seen it, it looks super good, and I want to play it.
Yeah, it's Capybara Games announced that in addition to Below, which will premiere at least on Xbox One first, they are bringing Super Time Force to Xbox One and have then just pushed the game back a couple of months. You know, my understanding is that game is basically finished. They're just kind of in that last little home stretch, and now they're pushing it to, I guess they've said, the first couple of months of next year, and it will release on Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Microsoft does not have any sort of cross-buy functionality, so that is going to be one of those things where you're going to have to choose one or the other, as far as I know. They don't have many instances of games being on both, so I don't know if there's much of an impetus for them to design a program like that unless they start going back and, you know, retrofitting a bunch of games to be ported.
Which doesn't seem like something they would do at this point.
No, Phil Spencer mentioned, I think in an interview with Kotaku, that it was something they were considering.
Yeah.
I think it would have been smart on Microsoft's part to do something similar to what Sony did, was basically just, you know, start contracting engineering teams to port smaller, easier games onto their next platform and just give those games away. If you've purchased them before, they don't have to be, you know, big, bold, crazy games. It's just, it makes you feel better about your purchase, and it feels like you've got something to play. But, you know, as we get out of the launch window of these machines, you know, once games start hitting, like Titanfall, Destiny, you know, the reason for those to exist exists less and less. As much as I have been a constant advocate for backwards compatibility and think that the industry ignores that stuff, mostly because they can get away with it, it is because they can get away with it, and once new games start coming out for these new machines, it will largely leave the conversation. But at least, hopefully, in Sony's back pocket is this Gaikai stuff, you know, assuming it all works out and works in the dream way we can think about how it might work. We'll maybe at least get access to that stuff on PS4, but I think on Xbox, I think that stuff is kind of going to probably go away.
Well, I mean, Microsoft, you know, Xbox was where the famous, the quote, "If you're backward compatible, you're truly backward," came from. And granted, the man who said that is now gone, so there is that.
That is a bad man. Maybe that's another category, like best Phil Spencer, put your foot in your mouth quote.
Well, that wasn't Phil Spencer. That was what's his name that went to
Zynga. right, Don Matrick.
Don Matrick, yeah, the young Mr. Burns. But yeah, dude.
The guy, he whips his hair back and forth.
Yeah, totally. I
didn't mean to quote Willow Smith.
The backward compatibility stuff is still something that kind of sticks in my craw, because I really like keeping games around and being able to pop them in when I want to. Like, I still have my PS2 games out on my shelf because I still have a backward compatible PS3 that I can play them on. And, you know, I mean, I appreciate that Sony has had this cross-buy stuff for a while now, and I like the way they've implemented a lot of that stuff. But and I also understand that the architecture of the PS4 is very different than the PS3, so it's not just like a simple, you know, one-to-one conversion thing. But just the lack of that stuff, and the fact that it's basically been abandoned, but like abandoned in a way where it almost sounds like every company was just sort of treating it like, well, of course we were going to abandon that. Why would we keep doing it? Yeah. Is something that I have found incredibly distressing as the year has gone along. Like, nobody is like. It's not just that they have abandoned backward compatibility. It is the fact that they have done it and then treated it as the most offhand, like, well, yeah, whatever kind of thing. And I think a lot of companies really underestimate how much people want to still play games from old platforms as time goes along. I understand that that they don't make money off people continuing to play those games off those platforms unless they can resell them to you later down the road. But I mean, I feel like if Microsoft had found a way to even get like just the Xbox 360 library or some chunk of it working on the Xbox One, that might have mitigated some of that extra $100 cost that everyone was freaking out about. But maybe that just wasn't cost effective. Maybe that just wasn't reasonable. I don't know.
I mean, it's one of those things that without knowing how much it costs to do things like that, but like I'd be willing to, like that would have been an awfully nice perk for, let's say, Xbox Live Gold, which is that like there's like you get access to a legacy package, which is that they pick out key titles like Halo 3. Crackdown, stuff like that. It's like, games that you're going to want to go back to for years and years and years. You can play these. Like we've done, they just pick a selection of games and kind of make those work. I'm, not discounting the engineering effort. I'm sure even, especially on the multiplayer side, to make all that stuff work with new architecture. Right. But, especially with those games that people are going to go back to for years, it sucks. And I feel like they dismiss it out of hand. Because like we both said, they can get away with it, and that's really frustrating because it does become sort of a minority thing as time goes on. But I think that's also because we've just become engineered to accept it as a sort of a fact of life. It doesn't discount that obviously different architectures. There are big reasons why things don't just naturally play on the next console as they do when you upgrade your PC.
Sure.
But that's I feel like that's just another argument to maybe invest in a computer because yes, some games do break compatibility over time, but you have fan bases that often will make the best of the best games still work, and most of your games will continue to work for a far longer amount of time than certainly far longer than probably the 7 years that you're going to get out of a console.
Right. I mean, all I know is I'm keeping a 360 and a PS3 plugged in for the foreseeable future because there are things on those consoles that I do not want to, abandon right now, and I might have been more willing to shuffle those things off if there had been some kind of backward compatibility. But as it is right now, I am not filing those consoles away until I absolutely have to. So that is.
I'm gonna have to keep my PS3 around for Walking Dead because that comes out later this month.
Apparently. According to Steam, it is out on the 17th. That was something someone in the chat said.
Yep. Telltale said that it was going to launch this month, and then Steam seemed like they had kind of spoiled the date on that. And I'm excited for that, but it just immediately stresses me out. I mean, I guess I'll have to have probably hammered out all of the stuff for my year-end stuff by then, so I guess I'll be out of the woodwork for better or worse by the 17th. But I'm excited to play that. So, I guess I don't have much to say about it except that I can't wait to see what they have done with Clementine.
Yeah, that'll be a good game for the holiday break, for the Christmas. It's a good Christmas game.
That's a good feel-good game. I wish that was launching on next-gen systems or there was a way to port my save to a machine that wasn't the PS3, but that does not appear to be happening, so I will just have to keep that PS3 plugged in.
Indeed. I did notice that the World of Warcraft movie now has actors in it.
Yeah, the thing's actually happening.
Yeah, they're going to make that movie, and they're going to put Ben Foster and Paula Patton in that movie, which Do you know any of those actors? Are you familiar with any of those actors?
Dominic Cooper, I got him confused with someone else.
Yeah, so, and that's the thing, is like Ben Foster...
that name rings a bell.
He's been in a bunch of stuff. Like, did you see Pandorum?
Yeah.
He was the lead skinny dude in that. Like, he was the one that Dennis Quaid was like terrorizing for a lot of that movie.
Everyone's seen Pandorum.
Yeah, totally. So
actually, that's like for as far as like B level sci-fi goes, like Pandorum is actually pretty great.
I liked it. Yeah, I think it's pretty decent. Paula Patton has been in several things. Probably most famously, I guess, Precious and Mission Impossible. But she's also been in a variety of other movies that I've seen for some reason. And yeah, a bunch of these other actors I don't really recognize, but that doesn't really surprise me because this is one of those movies that you try to sell on the name, not necessarily on the star power.
Yeah, I think you're right. They don't need to, have an Angelina Jolie attached to sell World of Warcraft. I think they know that, hey, fantasy stuff is popular. Warcraft is a big name. Let's just lean into that. And so I think you're right that they'll be able to get away with that.
Yeah. Now, whether they're able to get away with the fact that they are making a goddamn World of Warcraft movie, we'll see. That
Duncan
remains to be
Jones,
seen.
buddy. And
No, yeah,
Duncan Trust.
I like him a lot. I think he's a very good director. I'm just waiting to see some footage, something, just to kind of get a sense of the tone and what they're doing with it, because it's still a World of Warcraft movie, so there's still that to contend with.
Yeah, I don't know shit about the lore of Warcraft. I mean, I played the hell
They're
out of
orcs.
Warcraft. Yeah, and they're humans.
Yeah.
I played the hell out of
You can make them
Warcraft 1 and
dance.
2. Yep, they grunt.
Uh-huh. I think there was a South Park episode about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I played WoW for like a year. I got enough of a basic gist of the lore from that stuff, though obviously it goes pretty deep. That said, the lore is not really what kept me coming back to that game. It was more just the sort of like everyone is fucking playing it kind of camaraderie of the whole thing that kept me interested. So we'll see.
I am genuinely curious to see. This is like, Blizzard is about to pull off what Bungie tried to do, or I guess Bungie and Microsoft tried to do, which was have a lot of creative control over the direction of the film as it goes into production.
Right.
And that's what turned Microsoft or Hollywood off to the Halo film. But Blizzard has continued to exert control over this film. That's why it's taken 7 years to actually happen since it was announced they were going to try and make it work. And I'm curious to see how that turns out. I'm curious to see how pandery the film is, how much it is about
or
pleasing.
Pandarany. Pandarin is. So should I just go? I mean, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, tell that ghost to take you out.
Oh, God.
It's Duncan Jones. I'll see it.
Yeah, sure. I will of course see it.
Curious to see what what kind of clout the World of Warcraft, or just the Warcraft name has in March 2016. That's a long time from now.
That is it's a couple of years.
Yep. Alex, the most important question if people in the chat want to start dropping questions as we head towards the end of the show, please feel free to do that, and I will check in the chat for that. But there's a raging debate happening on the front page of our site about the Final Fantasy series.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VIII is clearly the best Final Fantasy game for the PlayStation 1. I'm hoping to hear you say the same.
Trying to remember which ones I even played.
Did you not play any of them?
I think my favorite Final Fantasy game on the PlayStation was Chrono Cross.
I didn't like that game. I thought that was a bad sequel to Chrono Trigger.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have the Chrono Trigger affection necessarily because I didn't really play that back then. So.
I guess that's interesting. I didn't even know there were people that played Chrono Cross that didn't play Chrono Trigger. Yeah,
I bought that because GameSpot gave it a 10, and I played a bunch of it, and I liked it. It's fine. But yeah, I was not a real Final Fantasy guy, so I don't have a strong opinion. On stuff.
Boring. Can you just say
I can't break any ties.
Favorite? Just say 8 is your favorite. Just say it. You don't care. You don't have a dog in this fight. Just say 8.
Yeah. Sure. Okay.
Boring. God damn it.
Sorry, I don't have an opinion about those games. Like I could sit there and fabricate one for you, but I don't really. Yeah. Final Fantasy, man.
Fine. Well, the conversation will continue on the front page of the site. I was not trolling. I legitimately think Final Fantasy VIII is the most entertaining of those 3 games, and I think people that prefer Final Fantasy IX are nostalgic, crazy people.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VII is an acceptable answer. And Tactics is not part of the equation. That is not one of the mainline games. Tactics is a fine game, but it is not what we're talking about.
Look, if you want to debate N64 wrestling games, I'm your guy. Okay. But when it comes to like PlayStation era Final Fantasy, you could find a billion people more invested in that shit than I am. So sorry, right, I wish I could help.
Pick your favorite N64 wrestling game.
Virtual Pro Wrestling 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that released here?
No, it was in Japan.
Okay, of course it is. Of course it was.
If you want me to go U.S.
Yeah, let's go
wrestling
U.S.
game,
Let's
No
go
Mercy.
where people would know. No mercy.
No
Okay,
Mercy.
good choice. Good choice. Sony reset some PSN passwords, including mine. I need to do that.
Really?
Too.
Was there some strange activity on your account?
There was some strange activity on the account. What did they say? We routinely monitor for regular activity, and if such activity is detected, we may sometimes reset passwords of affected SEN accounts, Sony Entertainment Network. I hate that. To protect consumers and their account information, the password resets are not related to an attack on nor a vulnerability in our data servers. It is an example of an increasingly common threat, malicious online activity. That sounds like a bunch of BS where they detected something, but it's actually not a problem, but they're just being safe. But wow, could they have given more of a PR answer than that to explain why they were setting some passwords?
No, that is the PRist PR answer you could get for something like that.
Yeah,
I haven't checked. I haven't logged on to PSN since I got home, so I should double check to make sure my password has not been reset as also.
You would have gotten an email.
Okay, then I guess mine was not.
So I've got to reset mine. And I just changed it. Like I changed it as part of getting the PS4, which means I'm gonna have to change it again. I need to get one of those 1Password things. I need to do that.
That would be smart.
That would be smart. First batch of self-publishing Xbox One developers were announced, including Crytek.
Yeah, independent developer, Crytek.
I mean, that gets into a weird, Valve.
I know, they are technically an independent company, so yeah.
And what this is saying is that Crytek has the ability to self-publish games. They're not owned by EA.
Right.
They do a lot of things, with EA, Microsoft. They're a work-for-hire company. They also put out that game Warface, which is that free-to-play crisis shooter. So, Crytek could publish that themselves on Xbox One, which would be a self-published independent endeavor. So, it's just, I don't know if I would have put them in the initial launch lineup of companies you want to brag about, because that's not what people are looking for with that stuff. But you got Double Fine, Crytek. I'm excited that Definition 6, which I guess is the name of I'm blanking, Spy Party, Chris Hecker.
Right.
Chris Hecker, I guess that's the name of his development studio. I feel like I might have just heard my door thing ring. I'm not sure if that's true. We'll see if it does it again.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a solid bunch of studios.
Yeah,
so.
It's like Vlambeer's on there, Drinkbox, Half Brick, Iron Galaxy, makers of fine fighting games like Dive Kick.
Yeah, I guess that's coming to Xbox One.
Is it?
Yeah, good for Dive Kick, I guess.
Good for them. Put it out anywhere you can get it, son.
Just put in Kinect commands, dive and kick.
Yeah, just yell Xbox dive, Xbox kick over and over again.
Yeah, that seems like the right kind of stupid that Dave Lang would be into.
That's how I want to play my video games.
Oh, that guy lives near me now. Well, I guess he doesn't live near me. He lives far away, but he's like in the vicinity.
Don't give him your address.
No. I need to put him on a list.
Big bag full of 40s, 2 a.m. on a Wednesday.
That's what Iron Galaxy is, just this haggard man outside of the train station with 2 40s duct taped to his hands.
Screaming about hitboxes.
God. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's kind of all I got, too. I was going to mention it sounds like the first Assassin's Creed 4 DLC is out in 2 weeks, which I am excited about. I guess you're probably not as much since you haven't played it yet.
No, but I do want to play that. I'm going to try and put in some time this weekend with it to at least wrap my head around it. How long does that game take to get going?
It takes less time than AC3 did, in that you don't waste a bunch of time playing as another character. You just kind of start off and are into it. But it does take about 3 hours to kind of get through its various tutorials and just stream straight into the story. So give it a little time, but most of that time, at least, you're doing decent stuff. It's not super boring at the beginning, which is nice.
All right, let's see. A lot of people upset about Final Fantasy VIII.
Well, if they're the sort of people that get upset about Final Fantasy conversations on the internet, then,
At least we're not ranking Kingdom Hearts games.
Oh God.
At that point, you just rank everything as unrankable. There's
Yeah,
not even a list.
At that point, you just rank Kingdom Hearts at the top, and then the rest is just a series of fart noises.
Actually, that's probably how I would do it too. I liked the first one.
Yeah, everyone likes the first one.
Mr. Angry Eyes, do you guys have any thoughts on Mass Effect 2 winning the Giant Bomb Community Game of the Generation against Dark Souls? It was really close.
So Mass Effect 2 won?
Yes.
I think I'm okay with that, even as not a huge Mass Effect fan. I mean, that's the one that everyone universally pretty much loves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are certainly not my games of the generation, but I would probably rather that took it than Dark Souls, because I don't have the love for Dark Souls that everyone has. I'm sorry. I just don't. It's too hard for me.
I'm going to finally try that in January, I think. January, Dark Souls. It's going to be cold, dark cold.
Yeah, dark cold.
Dark Winter Souls.
Yeah.
Just throwing out feature names. Brett Harity, have you had a chance to check out Starbound yet? No, but I'm also not really into Minecraft Terraria games, and Starbound seems like space Terraria, so I don't have a whole lot of interest.
Yeah, I haven't watched that quick look yet, but everyone keeps asking me if I've played that, so I should probably watch that and then see if that's something I want to play.
Did you play through the Burial at Sea stuff?
No, I haven't touched it yet. I specifically got into the game, downloaded it, and then have not played it. So
yeah, that game is currently occupying 45 gigs on my SSD.
Yeah.
With that main game plus the DLC, and I know it's only 3 hours long, but it's just I've heard it's fine, but it's not going to change the world. So I haven't been in a rush to play it, but I do really want to get to it because if it's nothing more than just prettier Rapture. I'm okay with that.
There's still something to be said for that. So.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe one more question. Mr. Raccoon asked, "Are you going to continue your Walking Dead interviews for the new season?" Yeah, that'd be the plan. Telltale has said their game, so I guess I would look for that first one sometime in January. If that comes out on December 17th. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's too bad that Jake and Sean are not around anymore. They were a ton of fun to talk to, but there are plenty of other cool dudes over at Telltale. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to do that stuff. And I've also been thinking about maybe doing sort of kind of like Alan Sepinwall sort of write-ups for each episode. That's it's not necessarily about attaching a score to it. It's more just here's what happened and here's what was interesting about that. For each episode, because I really do like those games.
Yeah, I think if you're going to review it, I think it makes more sense to review the season once it's completed. But there's certainly value in covering those individual episodes, as you said, in almost sort of like a recap kind of fashion. So I think that would be a really smart way to do it.
Did you review Walking Dead? Did you write a review?
I reviewed the first season. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I gave it 5 stars. It's great.
Yeah. All right. Last one. Are you gonna watch the VGX Awards?
So it's not on TV this year.
Although I guess it's airing again. It's webbing and then it's being shoved on TV at a later date.
Okay, so I might watch the web stream. We'll see. I didn't watch last year at all. I heard it was better than some of the frankly abject train wrecks they've had in previous years. So I don't know. I feel like maybe it's worth giving it a shot if it's just on the internet and I can watch it on my iPad or something while I'm doing other things. That show has always been a weird thing for me. I like the idea of an actual mainstream video game award show until I actually realize what it would require to get a mainstream video game award show on television, and then the whole thing falls apart for me. So. It's I don't blame the guys who work on that show. A lot of those guys are really smart people. They understand video games. They know the industry. It's just, to produce a show like that for TV, you cannot just have a dry-ass award show because no one will watch it. I get that. Doesn't mean I want to watch what they end up having to do for the sake of getting it on TV, but as far as this year's show goes, I don't know. I mean, the fact that it is starting out on the web and then they're going to edit it together into something for TV, maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll be better. We'll see. But I'll give it a shot.
I really hope that Baby Choo Choo is correct and that they're just using this as a platform to announce new snowboard kids.
That would be great.
That's a really deep cut, by the way. I saw that and that made me smile. Those games were pretty good, weren't they?
Yeah, if I'm remembering them correctly, yes. Actually, I could not tell you. Man, I'm like trying to pull from my fuzzy ass memory what Snowboard Kid was. I know I've played
the N64 games. I want to say they were made by Atlas. I might be wrong.
You might be right. God, yeah, it's been a really long time. I think that was a game I rented a couple of times. Yeah, Jesus, yeah, bring that back. Sure, totally.
Yeah, the gritty reboot. Yeah, developed by Ryse and published by Atlas.
Find the guys who made Amp 3 and get them to reboot Snowboard Kids.
All right, Alex. What are you up to this weekend? What are you playing?
Oh God, I'm gonna start in on Dead Rising 3 finally. I'm gonna try and get through as much Zelda as I can because I feel like next week I'm gonna be neck deep in trying to get top 10 lists and other things together for Game of the Year stuff. So I'm gonna try and get as much out of the way this weekend as I can. Also, later today, look for the latest episode of the Power Bombcast, the ultimate authority on people who sort of watching wrestling, kind of making a lot of brash judgments about wrestling. Enjoy that. That's all I got.
All right. I think worth playing went up this morning. I got to put together worth reading after this. And yeah, I'm going to finish Zelda.
Good.
Probably not this evening, but definitely tomorrow in between trying to go find a bed. Definitely need to get a bed in this apartment.
That would be good.
Well, I've been sleeping on a pull-out couch, which is fine, but is probably not good for your back long term.
No.
Zelda, and then State of Decay. State of Decay is kind of I want to sink some hours into that sometime this weekend. And although I will be watching football, I don't have to fully dedicate myself to it because my Bears don't play till Monday night, so I get some extra time.
Oh God damn it! I just remembered. I need to play more NBA Live.
Oh, yeah.
God damn it.
Is that on PS4?
Yeah, PS4 and Xbox One.
You should stream some of yourself playing NBA Live and hating your life.
It might come to that. I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah, I'm going to try and review that for early next week, so I got to play more of that. Fuck. All right.
That's a great way to end this. Alex, tomorrow you have to play more of NBA Live. So good luck to you. And on Monday's show, we're going to have game writer, game designer Kara Ellison from all the way in the UK. I didn't even know Skype went that far.
Across the pond?
Or Google Hangouts. And we also, I don't know if anyone in the chat can help us with this, but I gained access to YouTube Live, which I don't know if that would be a better solution to what we do than Google Hangouts, but if someone has used that before, I guess you just get access to it once you've been streaming long enough, or X amount of subscribers or something. This is
my only question for anyone suggesting this stuff. Can I do this in YouTube Live?
Alex, I'm cutting your cord. I'm cutting your cord. You're done.
No, I am done.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Stop broadcasting.